I think I'm gonna die in this house.
I mean, that's going straight to the Halloween playlist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a man talking.
Yeah. It's just a man talking, which is a true nightmare. The true nightmare.
Terror. That is creepy creep spookies. Just men talking.
What could be scarier?
Yes, I've had the odd complaint, but on the whole, I've been a saint. To those poor unfortunate souls.
Hello, and welcome to Poor Unfortunate Podcast, where Disney is what we do. It's what we live for. We're the two besties you never knew you needed. I'm Caroline Ameti.
And I'm Connor Perkins. This is a Disney podcast for grown-ups because we believe magic gets better with age. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to all of our returning listeners and viewers. Thank you so much for joining us once again. And welcome to any new listeners or viewers. Thank you so much for hitting play. Please also remember to hit follow or subscribe wherever you're getting the podcast and opt in for notifications if you're watching on YouTube. And then once we get to the end of the episode or right now, if you're feeling it, make sure that you leave a comment, rate it 5 stars, and then leave a written review so that other people can find the podcast. We're seen in search results. It's one of the best things you can do to help us sort of grow the pod. And if you're looking to listen to this episode without ads, you can always join the Poor Unfortunate Patreon, available to you right now to sign up. All plans are under $10.
Woohoo!
Cool. All right, so we are back for our Showdown episode of season 5.
Yeah.
Caroline, what are we doing today?
We're kind of going back to our classic Showdown style. We haven't done one of those in a little while. So we are pitting 2 films against each other. And this is a really, really fun pairing. We've really been looking forward to doing this episode. So we are taking a look at 2 early 2000s magical realism-esque films, both starring Lindsay Lohan, who is like having her comeback right now, which I love. We're also just very much in a early 2000s comeback moment in general. So this feels like the perfect time to be doing this episode.
I love Lindsay Lohan.
Lindsay Lohan, I mean, don't let me get into the meat of the episode, but she can act.
She can act her face off.
Yeah, like I'm ready for her to really take on some stuff now that she's back, you know?
Me too.
So you probably have guessed what the 2 films are, but today we are going to be talking about Freaky Friday and Life Size. I just have to say, I mean, I love both these films, but Life Size, when we first started talking about doing Poor Unfortunate Podcast, Life Size was on my list of things that were like non-negotiable. I have to talk about this Disney thing. So I'm just so excited that we're doing
Long time
this.
coming.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So we try to make these a little bit more manageable so we don't talk about these films for 5 hours because we could. So what we are going to focus on for the Showdown specifically, we're going to really focus on the magical realism aspects of these films. So we are going to take a look at the magic in each film, the transformation, and like the quality of how that's portrayed in each film. And then we're going to look at the character arcs that come about because of that. So we're going to judge these films based on those 2 parameters to kind of keep it focused because there's so much to talk about in these and we can get sidetracked in a million things. Performances, music, like all of it.
And also, like, I kind of don't want to come away from this saying this one is better than the other
this
one.
isn't like which film is better. We're focusing on the magical realism today. So let's get into it, baby.
Let's do it. I should say this before we get started. Spoilers ahead. So if you have not watched Life Size or Freaky Friday, the 2003 version starring Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan, both are available for you to watch on Disney Plus, but there will be spoilers ahead. So go ahead, watch those 2 movies. Each one is like an hour and a half, so it's like it's a good time. You can
You could
watch it
have
while
a
doing
fun
other
little
things.
rainy day with these 2
Yeah,
movies, you know?
easy.
Yeah.
So watch those movies, and we'll be here when you get back. And welcome back.
Woohoo!
Let's get into it. So, as usual, we have some background information for you. We're going to go in chronological order with our background information. So, let's start with Life Size.
Let's talk about Life Size. All right. Life Size premiered on March 5th, 2000 on ABC as part of the Wonderful World of Disney block. First of all, I will be a Wonderful World of Disney girl till the end of time, okay?
Yeah,
it just
me
provided
too.
me with so many of my favorite things. Bring back Wonderful World of Disney. But
Yeah.
also, we're very close to March 5th this year. This movie is about to be 26 years old. Wow.
Happy birthday.
Happy
That's
birthday, Life Size.
That's an adult child who is about to lose their insurance.
That's right. That's right. So sorry to Life Size. The producer was Fitch Cady, and it is directed by Mark Roseman. The screenplay is by Mark Roseman and Stephanie Moore, with a story by Moore. So here's a little fun background information on the story and the script. So the script written by Roseman based on Moore's story was acquired by ABC after some requested rewrites from the original. So in the original script, Eve remained a human and married Casey's father. And so Disney wanted that to change. But more majorly, before the Disney acquisition, the film was titled Ken and Barbie. And we'll get into that in a little while.
Yeah. Because also watching this film after seeing Greta Gerwig's
You're like,
Barbie.
it's like, you're welcome, Barbie movie, for this. Yeah, you're
Mhm.
welcome. Yes, absolutely. So obviously this title changed because of rights concerns with Mattel. Like I said, we'll get into it. But wow, does 2023's Barbie owe a lot to Life Size?
Yeah.
But anyway, the composer of the film is Eric Colvin, and the song written for the film, Be a Star, is by Mark Roseman and George Blondheim. And y'all,
Stop.
good thing we're
great.
that song is in my bones. So it's a good thing we're keeping this focus because, like,
shine
bright,
bright,
don't be shy,
be a star.
It's
Where you live,
so good.
where you are, be a star.
So good. I can't get sidetracked because if we were talking about this whole film, I mean, Be a Star would just shoot it right up to the top for me. But anyway,
But see, and then I would probably come for you with Ultimate.
I know, but that's what, and I would have to agree. It would be hard because I was also obsessed with Ultimate. I used to put that on Radio Disney. Let it
That's
rock.
gonna play at my wedding.
It's automatic. Oh, that's gonna be so cute. Just don't even try. Also, quick other thing about Be a Star. First of all, it was originally titled that because Eve was originally going to be named Star. Fun.
Oh.
And then I'll stop with the fun facts, but I just enjoy this movie.
I enjoy these.
The dance sequence of them dancing, the cast dancing to Be a Star at the end, was just like something that they like threw in right when they were about to finish filming, and everybody kind of knew the moves and was super into it, and you can feel that, and I love that ending of the film so much.
I do too.
Yeah, can't anyway. All right. Life Size stars, among others, Lindsay Lohan as Casey Stewart. This was part of a 3-picture contract with the Walt Disney Company that started with The Parent Trap for Lindsay. Tyra Banks as Eve. Tyra Banks, someone else who's having a moment right now, maybe not for all of the best reasons, but Lindsay and Tyra are back in the media, people, okay? Oh my God. Jerry Burns as Ben Stewart, Anne-Marie Loder as Drew McDonald, Garwin Sanford as Richie Ackerman, Tom Butler as Phil, and Jillian Fargy as Ellen. Budget, couldn't really find one anywhere. Looked and looked, could not find one. I would be curious to know. Life Size was released on VHS and DVD on May 30th, 2000, and it only became available on Disney Plus this past November. Until then, it had never been available for purchase or rental on digital platforms. And I think that is a large reason why it was living rent-free in my head, because I was just like, I need to see it again. And so
I mean, I still have the good old crack it open VHS downstairs in the basement.
I do too, babes. I do too. And I love that cover art. But anyway, I'm trying to stay
fantastic.
focused. It's so hard. This episode, we were like, we're going to focus. But I can't. I love these movies. Okay. Anyway. So this film has a 5.6 on IMDb. Whatever. It's not for IMDb. You know what I mean? Whatever. I'm in a mood, people, because we were just talking about Wuthering Heights, and I'm just tired of people crapping on everything, okay? Anyway.
It's not for IMDb.
It's not for IMDb. It's not.
for me.
It's for me. And it also has, this is such a silly episode. I gotta pull it together. Okay. I have the giggles. It also has a relatively incomplete Rotten Tomatoes rating with a 48% popcorn meter score, no tomato meter. People aren't really bothering, and I get it. It's for us, okay? But there is no denying that this film is something of a cult classic. The success of the Barbie movie also gave Life Size a bit of a comeback in the media, and I'm honestly wondering if that's what finally got it to streaming after all this time. And if it is, amen. A sequel to the film, Life Size 2, aired on Freeform in December 2018. Tyra Banks reprised her role as Eve, and Lindsay Lohan was allegedly set to return as well before scheduling conflicts with her MTV show got in the way. The sequel centers around Eve returning to our world and befriending hot mess toy company CEO Grace. It doesn't seem to have been received super well, even by fans of the original. I mean, I have yet to see it.
I think I might have seen part of it, maybe.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day we'll talk about that one too, because I'm interested.
Mm-hmm.
However, Tyra Banks has talked about her development of a third film as recently as a year ago, teasing that the story would bring the return of Lindsay Lohan as Casey. Who knows if she was just making that up, but I would be into it, okay?
Sure.
I'd be into it. Here is a quick plot synopsis from IMDb. 11-year-old Casey is despondent after her mother's death. As she and her father Ben drift apart, she finds a book of magic spells and tries to use one to bring her mother back to life. But the plan backfires and she finds that she's animated Eve, a fashion plate dress-up doll. Eve is excited to be both alive and nearly 6 feet tall, but she has much to learn about living in the real world. And Casey doesn't think she has the desire or the patience to teach her. So that's a little bit about Life Size.
All right, I'm going to walk us through some Freaky Friday stuff. So Freaky Friday premiered on August 4th, 2003 in Los Angeles, and then August 6th, 2003 in the United States. It was produced by Andrew Gunn, directed by Mark Waters. The screenplay was by Heather Hawk and Leslie Dixon. It's based on the children's novel Freaky Friday by Mary Rogers. The music is by Rolf Kent, and it stars, among others, Jamie Lee Curtis as Tess Coleman / Anna Coleman, Lindsay Lohan as Anna Coleman / Tess Coleman, Mark Harmon as Ryan, Chad Michael Murray as Jake, Harold Gold as Alan, Tess's father, Ryan Malgarini as Harry Coleman, and Rosalind Chow as Pepe Chang. The budget was $26 million and the box office was $160.8 million.
Woo!
I will give you some, just like a couple fun facts because you gave some fun facts.
Yes.
So Jamie Lee Curtis only joined the production within I believe a week of it starting. Originally, they were trying to get Jodie Foster, who played the Anna character, the daughter character in the 1976 version. They were trying to get her to come in and play the Tess Coleman, and then she couldn't do it. And then they had some other people, and then they couldn't do it. And it was only after someone reached out and was like, you should look at Jamie Lee Curtis. And Jamie Lee Curtis came in at the 11th hour. Also, Lindsay Lohan wasn't going to play Anna either because they saw her audition tape and they were like, it was kind of meh. And so they were looking at other people. Yeah, they were looking at other people, which is baffling when you can think of what they're actually doing in this movie. And it's incredible.
Absolutely.
Jamie Lee Curtis received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actress in a Motion Picture Comedy or Musical for her performance as Tess / Anna. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was the right move. It was very well received, and it sits at an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
IndieWire named it the best body swap film of all time. And most critics praised the performances, particularly that of Curtis and Lohan, and the script, while also criticizing the transformation, arguing that it relied on many outdated stereotypes and problematic depictions of Asian characters. This is the third adaptation of the novel and the second from Disney after the 1976 version starring Barbara Harris and Jodie Foster. And then following the success of this 2003 version of the film, Lohan and Curtis returned for a sequel, Freakier Friday, this time a 4-way body swap, and have teased being interested in filming a third time. And they were like, we would do a 6-way body swap.
Can we do a crossover with this and Life Size 3?
Maybe. Have you seen Freakier Friday yet?
I still have not.
I started watching it. It's good as shit, man.
Oh, okay. I gotta watch that.
Good as shit.
I gotta watch that. Okay.
But I will give you a plot synopsis for Freaky Friday, the first one. So single mother Tess Coleman and her teenage daughter Anna couldn't be more different, and it is driving them both insane. After receiving cryptic fortunes at a Chinese restaurant, the two wake up the next day to discover that they have somehow switched bodies. Unable to switch back, they are forced to masquerade as one another until a solution can be found. In the process, they develop a new sense of respect and understanding for one another. This movie, I hyperfixated on this movie, and I know it annoyed the crap out of my sisters.
I didn't know this about you.
I hyperfixated on this movie. I hyperfixated on this soundtrack as well. I would wake up every morning and watch Freaky Friday.
Really?
I don't understand. Yeah, I don't know why.
Well, that's funny because
maybe it's because it's a good movie, and I know what a good movie is.
I kind of had that experience with Life Size, so this is going to be really fun.
It's going to be really fun.
Wow. Okay, I'm excited.
All right, so now let's talk about the transformation magic rules / the process of it.
Yes.
So I'll start because I'm already talking with Freaky Friday, and then we'll go back to Life Size.
Perfect.
So in Freaky Friday, the way that the magic works, so Anna and Tess, they receive fortune cookies at a Chinese restaurant deliberately given to them by Mrs. Chang, Pei, the restaurant manager's mother. Upon opening the cookies, the fortune reads, "A journey soon begins, its prize reflected in another's eyes. When what you see is what you lack, then selfless love will change you back. Then an earthquake happens that only the two are able to feel, with the body switch happening at midnight of the next day, Friday. And then when the spell is broken and the fortune is completed, another earthquake ensues. This time, everyone else feels except for Anna and Tess. And then when the earthquake finishes, their bodies have swapped back." And so that's the magic of the body swap in this. Let's do magic for Life Size. How's it work?
Perfect. It's rather in-depth, so let me break it down for you.
Okay, great, because I wasn't following all of it. But
Got you. I'll explain it. Again, this was the part of it that, being the child that I was like, tell me about the Book
Caroline,
of the Dead.
the occultist child. This is everything.
That's part. I was obsessed with Barbies. I was obsessed with occult kind of mummies, shit like that. This was my dream. This was my dream.
Where is Past Pages bookstore? Where is Past Pages?
I wanted to walk through the beaded curtain. I wanted to get to the rare books. Yeah.
That's another thing I think that these films both have in common. Beaded curtains. They both have beaded curtains.
It's the early 2000s, people. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So as we know from the plot synopsis, Casey in this film has sadly lost her mother. So Casey visits a mysticism and spells website where she researches resurrection in the hopes of bringing her mother back to life. The website suggests Hallcroft's Book of the Dead. After stealing it, it was expensive, okay, from a nearby rare bookstore.
She paid for as much of
it as she could. Okay. Casey reads the Resurrecting Lost Life Forces chapter, which involves preparing an altar in order to summon the life force. The altar includes a seashell, crystals, plants, and more, but most importantly, a remnant from the object to be transformed, placed in the center of the altar. Casey decides to use hair from her mother's brush. Unfortunately, a well-meaning but very annoying Drew, Ben's friend and coworker, barges in and uses the brush to brush the hair of the Eve doll she just gifted Casey while Casey is in the bathroom. Casey lights the required candle and speaks the incantation, which only works once and must be repeated until the transformation is complete. Zamba, Tarka, Ishtu, Nebarim, okay? don't forget it.
That was my Triguna Macoides Tricorum Sadistii. Like
Oh
is
my
what that is to me.
God.
That is yours.
Zambatarka Ishtunebarim. Honestly, one day we're going to need shirts with both of those.
It's very like Beiti Ma, Beiti Kathir, Beiti Kikien.
I can't. You're going to break me this episode. I can't. Okay.
It's very Ichitakapita Magica Mystica.
So we see the book shake, glitter, and glow, and so does the Eve doll across the room, unbeknownst to Casey. Casey falls asleep chanting the spell and wakes up next to a living, human-sized Eve. Spells from the book become permanent upon the setting sun of the 4th day and can only be reversed using Hallcroft's Volume 2, the Book of Awakenings. A few days later, when Eve realizes her place is in Sunnyvale, her home, her doll home, she gets her hands on Volume 2, which teaches her the reversal spell. It doesn't seem to require as much, no altar in sight, but Eve chants, Son of Suns, Moon of Moons, once awakened, now to return. And as the sun sets, she is returned to her doll form. So that's how that works.
Mm-hmm.
Very occult, very occult.
It's also very
So
interesting that like the resurrection spell is this like made up language, but then Book of Awakenings, like send her back, it's just like, just use English. Just
and
send
you
her
don't
back.
need an altar, nothing.
No. This is just a quick returns line.
Oh, man.
Okay, so let's talk about, we're going to divide this into the two things, execution of the magical realism, transformations, and then the characterization sort of as a result. So let's start with what's working for the magic.
Okay, great.
Let's work with life size.
Great. So I think the biggest thing that's working here for me is that the magic is very precise. There's a spell book, a spell, an altar. I already said this, but I was a child of darkness kind of kid who was obsessed with shit like mummies. And so I remember this part of the film specifically having a hold on me. It really hooked me into the story.
Yeah, there's like eggs in the altar too, which I'm
Yeah,
like,
there's more of
like,
the page that I couldn't even
sense.
see. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, also the other pages that she flips past all have, I want to know what this book says. Okay. Somebody make it for me. Okay. And it definitely feels surprising in a setting that is otherwise very Disney Channel-esque. But I like that about it. I do talk about it later in what might not be working. It's more of a personal taste thing. But for me, personal taste-wise, the precision of this and the occult nature of it is working for me. Also, Casey's reason for casting the spell to bring back her mom is very heartbreaking. And then even though Eve is so fun and we love her and we love watching her, it's interesting that we can also feel like, damn, that was Casey's one chance to see her mom again. And so I think the stakes and finality of this spell works really well for, again, hooking us into the stakes of this story. I'll talk about this when we talk about Freaky Friday as well, but just like Freaky Friday, the rules about how long the spell lasts allow us to know that there is an end game here. So we can kind of relax and let ourselves get carried with the story because we know we've got kind of a finite amount of time or we've got a goal in mind. But in this case, again, I think it also helped add stakes. First, having us wonder if Casey was going to be stuck with Eve forever on this timeline that we're working on, and then if she would be able to stop her from casting the reversal in time. I also think Eve's reaction to the world is on point. Like what we have allowed Eve to know and not know or be able to do and not be able to do largely tracks for me here. And like we've touched on a little bit before, like this was kind of the Barbie movie before the Barbie movie, down to her crying for the first time and being like, what's happening to me?
The crying scene.
That's like exact.
In the crying scene, but also there was a moment where she like looks around and she sees like different
all the people, and I was like,
people and in love, and I was like, and this is the bus stop scene that they tried to cut out of Barbie. That Greta Gerwig is like, if we're not doing this, what the fuck is the point? What are we even doing?
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
And she was like, this is the scene from Life Size. I'm like, that's probably what she was doing. But I'm like, this is the scene from Life Size. Life Size was doing it.
Yeah, yes. And there, like I said, I just feel like the details of it make a lot of sense to me, even down to the point of like, I don't think when the spell was cast that the Eve doll was holding her purse. So the purse is still doll toy purse when she's like, what happened to my purse? So we're being specific. We're looking out for details, which I very much enjoy. And she only has her one outfit and, you know, her whole wardrobe didn't come to this world. It's just Eve in that form. And so she's got to buy new clothes. Like we've got rules and we're following and tracking them through. And at the end of the day, this is at this time a totally original magical idea. And it's also brilliant. What happened? What would a doll be like if she came into our world? And I think there are only so many ways you can achieve that happening. Like, what is the explanation there? And it might seem a little bit, again, we'll talk about it in a little while. It might seem maybe a little bit tonally out of the box to have it be from this like Book of the Dead. But at the end of the day, there are really only so many ways you can make it happen because unlike the Barbie movie in which we're in Barbie's world and it's like a fully functioning, like its own version of our world.
Yeah.
There's no decision coming from Eve. So she has to be brought here in this supernatural way. And there are only so many options. And this one very much worked for me. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm have a lot of agreements with you there. Like I think a strength is we've got a really cool spell. It utilizes a bunch of items and symbols of the occult and resurrection. It feels intentional. It's mysterious. We've got instructions.
Love.
And it also doesn't feel like it's drawing from any one single culture's traditions. So it's kind of left a bit ambiguous there. And I think that's a plus for it. And I think there's just like so much misunderstanding and harmful stereotypes when it comes to portraying mysticism on screen. So kind of like muddying it and making it a little bit ambiguous, I think that's like really smart.
Yep.
But at the same time, I want to know more about all of this. Like I want them to get even more specific. Like I'm like you, I want to turn through the pages of.
I was like freeze framing and trying to read the other pages because I have a problem.
I'm like, I want to know, did Hallcroft write any other books? Like,
is Hallcroft from Halloween Town? Like, what is this?
Who is this person?
Who is
I want
Hallcroft?
the lore. I need the lore.
Hallcroft.
Speaking of which, I'm like, the spell book itself was just like really, really cool to me. And I think with the magic, the plot device of needing a volume 2 to reverse the spell, I think really works in the film's favor of giving it some checkpoints and structure to it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, why can't she just reverse this? Because you need volume 2. Duh. Like, that's a really, really good thing.
Yep. Simple and straightforward, but like super effective. Yeah.
What could be better?
Okay. So I mentioned this before. Even though I'm into the spookiness, the Book of the Dead of it all, I can see how some people might say it makes this movie feel a little too Halloween-y and doesn't quite match the rest of the film tonally. I don't feel that way, but it does feel like a very different, it feels like comes from a different world sometimes. I love that about it though.
See, I mean, I think you're being generous by including that as a weakness, but
I'm trying
because I
know I love this movie.
Well, but like in the defense, like basically playing you of it, like you also have to take into account Casey and Casey's characterization.
We're dealing with death and grief and
And Casey's kind of like a tomboyish type character. Like she's not going to go to like sparkle and shine, wake up your mom, like that kind of book of the.
Very true. And that's the thing that I guess I didn't mention before too, is I do think another strength of this magic is that it is born out of grief. It's a very interesting story, and it's not something we get in like, you know, straight to TV movies a lot, in children's films a lot. Like we really, through this magic, we do get to see this family dealing with grief. And I think that's really, really special. And I think the only reason I can really go into detail to pick the magic apart a little here is because we have the Barbie movie to compare it to, unfortunately. So as I started to touch on, in that world, in the Barbie film, Barbie is living and sentient in her world. And when she lands in our world, she remains as such. When Eve transforms back into the Eve of Sunnyvale, when she reverses the spell, she appears in our world in doll form, even though the Sunnyvale we were looking at is sort of in our world too. Like that was literally Sunnyvale, right? She's not going to this like Barbie world in the way that Barbie does. Like she had to literally go to Sunnyvale, and I think that was it. Because she was looking at the mall.
That was a photo shoot place.
Yeah, but I think that's Sunnyvale.
Oh, maybe.
Because it's like she was like seeing all the things she missed, her car
and the
mall.
So does no one live there?
I was like, is it just you and that Prince Eric? Isn't that Prince Eric?
Prince Eric.
The fact that they use that is Hilarious. So I'm kind of confused there.
Mm-hmm.
But she says she is going to go back to Sunnyvale and change things and kind of like help all the dolls be better, which to me, I'm also like, I think they're all Eve. Again, a little questions here. So I guess she's sentient in Sunnyvale, but we just can't see it with the human eye, perhaps, which also adds this sort of uncanny quality to like Casey is holding her and like Eve is sort of trapped in there. I don't know. I don't know how it works. I'm confused.
And with those
maybe
bangs.
It's better. Yeah, when she gets the haircut, I'm crying.
I'm like, Tyra, baby. No, girl.
And this part of it, I think, also ties into what I'll talk about later when it comes to character transformation is, you know, Eve at the end is like, I'm going to bring all of these things to the dolls, to Sunnyvale. And I feel like that didn't quite happen the full way. And I think part of it is because I don't know how does she do that? Where is Sunnyvale to her? So like, does her consciousness separate from the doll when she's in Sunnyvale? I mean, none of it is explained. We don't have time. But yes, because we don't see Eve existing in any way in Sunnyvale, all of that is left very mysterious. And I don't really know how that works.
I'm going to tack on to this a little bit because
Yeah.
I agree. And I think part of it comes from there's a trap of specificity around magic. As soon as you start creating so many rules, you start opening a bunch of other doors and you expose yourself, I think, to a lot of people trying to find loopholes and things like that. Whereas if you make sort of like very broad strokes of the pen in the way that like Barbie does, where it's like, they're Barbies. Barbie looks like anyone. And you're just like, great. So now
and Barbie
we've
just
closed.
has to like drive forever and then she like gets to her
Yep, and we're just
world.
like
Yeah.
we have answers for them. They're broad strokes. They're simple. And so we just like, it shuts a bunch of those doors. And I think because there is an intentionality and meticulousness to the way that this magic works, that there are some things that in the trap of a 90-minute, like sort of made for TV film, you can't address. And so then it starts spinning out into a whole bunch of other questions. And I feel like that it fell victim to that a little bit in that way, where I have a bunch of questions about the magic. Like, if the spell was successful with the mom, would she have just awakened in her coffin? Since Eve just awakened where her doll ended up.
Right, because I was wondering also, how do you know that you have to keep saying the incantation until
how do you know when it's complete?
How do you know? Yeah.
When the resurrection spell brings something to life, why does it make Eve bigger? Wouldn't she just be like the doll but alive? Resurrection implies that something has died. So how could that have worked on Eve if she was never alive?
Well, also, you asking this made me go back, and it's interesting because the chapter that the spell is from is resurrecting lost life forces, like you said, if it was never alive. But the thing that needs to be placed on the altar is just a remnant from the object to be transformed. So I guess that's the loophole of like, it doesn't have to have been anything was ever alive before, but then resurrecting is the wrong word.
Yeah.
I can't believe that word.
And then I'm like, what happened with the
this?
mom's DNA in the spell? How did that work? Would they mix together? Or is it like the most recent hair or the most prominent hair in the brush? Does that get preference?
Yeah, no, you're right. And you know what's so funny is I really sat here and I was like, okay, let's really try to think. And the thing that I really was like, okay, there's obviously gaps here is the doll sentient world thing, but you're right. The main thing that is an issue here is that it's not a resurrection.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
That's my thing. I'm like, it's like it would be simple if it was just like life spell, like if they just called it like a spell of life or something.
Yeah.
I have two other things that I wrote down as weaknesses. One is just like very specific. The dated CGI is inconsistent. Like the initial look of the magic when the spell is being cast.
It was similar.
No, it wasn't. It was completely different.
Well, it's a reversal spell.
One was like blue and like vibraty.
Yeah.
And then the other one had like all of these swirly like magic sparkles.
Well, first of all, they were both glittery. Okay. One is a reversal. But they were both giving me a little bit of Brandy Cinderella magic, which I'm living for.
Okay. No, that's fine. But I was just like, the magics, I didn't think that they looked similar. And so I'm like, so they didn't
I thought it was because they were different spells.
I get that they were different spells, but they should be connected. One is basically like, hey, undo, Control Z, like kind of, I don't know.
All right.
we also like we see the transformation back into a doll, but not the transformation from doll to human. And I get that this is a choice. Like we're going to show it once. But if they're showing it to us once, I'm like, I do think like the magic, even just like the magic color needs to look the same, because it makes me feel like something was hidden from me. Where I'm like, if it is two different spells and the two different spells manifest in two different ways, why did we only get to see part of it in the first one? And then we get to see the full thing in the second one. Like,
because we're trying to have the same
it's
experience that Casey has of like, oh shit, that's what
sure.
she looks
Yeah,
like.
no, that's valid. That's valid.
Yeah.
I'm getting nitpicky.
I
But then
know.
also,
And I'm also getting defensive.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But also the timing of the spell for me, I think it's a key component of the magic. It comes permanent at sundown on the fourth day.
Yeah.
And yet throughout the movie, I found it really, really easy to lose track of the timing. Like about halfway through the movie, I completely forgot that they were racing against time. In addition to the question of like the will they, won't they reverse the spell. So I don't know. That's something that brings in a lot of stakes. Timing, I think, brings in a lot of stakes, and then it goes away for a bit, and then it comes back at the end, as opposed to feeling like it was like consistent
that's
pressure
true.
on the plot, which I think could have been a little bit more effective to make the magic better.
I wonder if some of that is, it's like if we focused on the stakes of like racing against the clock, all of these feelings that Ben seems to be having about Eve are like, dude, it's been 2 days,
4
sir.
days. Yeah,
like
yeah,
please,
yeah.
just like stop.
Yeah, which I'm kind of like, I could have done without that. But then also, like, how do you have Tyra Banks living in your home and like we're not gonna
She looked beautiful.
talk about that?
She looks so good.
Yeah. So that's just my thing. But I'm just like, I wish that there would have, and I saw them like trying like in the it takes a week for the book to get here, but then also like it got there faster. It was like the timing was like a thing for me.
Okay, I feel you.
Okay, let's talk about the magic for Freaky Friday. So things that are working, I think its specificity and its simplicity is working really, really well. It's a consciousness switching between two bodies. Period. Internal processes from the brain / consciousness / soul, like habits, mannerisms, monologues, they sound like the character that's inhabiting the body. All physical characteristics and processes like speech and appearance are that of the opposite person. Super clear, easy to learn. It doesn't take us long to understand the rules and agree to them, which that's something that like I think the Barbie movie does really well. Like they set out the rule, we agree to them, we move on. I wasn't like sitting here thinking of like what all the loopholes could be. I think it's a strength that the magic is shown through physical, practical effects as opposed to CGI elements. Like, in fact, it's often using really interesting camera movement, like the moving aerial shots between two bodies when the actors are changing the sleeping position. We've got the split screen across a door and shaking the camera, flickering the lights for that first earthquake. The practical effects, the cinematography, it just makes it all feel very grounded and real so that there's not too much of a leap for us, I think, in the magic. Not saying that CGI magic is bad at all, but I was like, they had an opportunity. They were like, we could do CGI or we could just find ways to ground it in reality. And they were like, we'll do that one because we don't need to do anything else. So they didn't. And I really liked that. And then for me, I think a real strength is the time aspect of this spell. The spell lasts until the fortune is complete, period. There's no time limit on the spell. Yet all of the magic of the film is contained to one single day. Storytelling-wise, that makes things super clear, gives us some good boundaries for the spell. But what I really like is that by the spell being open-ended, it takes away a lot of the pesky loophole questions that inevitably come up around magic, because it's just like, no, this is how it is until the spell is satisfied with the change. So it's like, oh, but could they do this? It's like, well, did the spell finish? Then no. Like you get your answers to a lot of those loophole questions if you're thinking of them. And then also, and this sort of falls into a strength in the characters and the transformation arc too, because there is no time limit on the spell, the pressure that Anna and Tess have to change back and their timeline, it's completely self-generated and therefore can support that character growth journey for each of them. The scene at the rehearsal dinner where they accept that they've basically failed and are not going to change back in time for the wedding is pivotal in getting them to the place they need to actually break the spell. At that point, they each decide to sacrifice something for the other. Tess, her wedding, so that Anna doesn't have to go through with it in Tess's body. And Anna in giving her approval of Mark in the speech and not calling off the wedding because she knows what it means to her mom. And additionally, because of how open-ended the spell is, they get this kind of like additional layer to the lesson that they can't rush the other person to be who they want the other person to be. So in addition to like gaining respect for the other person's perspective and like this, that, and the other, there's this other thing of like, don't rush someone to be who you want them to be. I just think it really deepens things a little bit, gives more sophistication to the Tess and Anna character arc, because there isn't just like one single takeaway from the overall magical experience. There's like multiple things. Like if someone were to like give a test and they were like, what are the takeaways? There's not one answer here. There's a lot of takeaways.
Yeah, I have a lot of the same things. Like I said, having the guide for breaking the spell is super satisfying. We know what the end goal is, and we know that it's a family-friendly movie and they're going to achieve it. So it's more of like we can enjoy the chaos that ensues so much more because we do know it's going to work out. Because some of these situations are so stressful.
Yeah.
So that makes it an easy watch as well, which sometimes I'm looking for. Like I'll talk about this later, but sometimes in these magical realism films, I'm looking for this comfort factor sometimes, and it gives me that. And I also agree that I enjoy that we didn't use any CGI. So much of it being sold in the performances is what kept us leaning more into the realism part of the magical realism, which I think is right for this story. Like, I think it's right that Freaky Friday leans a little bit more into the realism part.
Because so much of the magic has to be in the acting. It's in how you're inhabiting the character.
And it's, and the lesson is, I mean, the lesson of Life Size is emotional as well. But I think Life Size leaning more into the magic of magical realism is also right. I think it really struck the right balance. And exactly what you said, too. One of the things that really stood out for me is that the magic didn't allow them to pick up skills like Anna's musical abilities, which is a mental rather than physical skill. So we were very specific in what they were able to achieve. So, absolutely agree.
Weaknesses, I've got one very obvious, very glaring one, which is it relies on dated and problematic racial stereotypes. They get addressed in the sequel film. I was like, I want to know how they get addressed. And they do. Rosalind Chow in the second film, which has a huge Asian cast and is directed by an Asian woman. She doesn't do that sort of put on accent anymore. And she has a lot more agency to the point where they're like, are you doing this? Are you doing this? And she's like, I don't have time. She was like, you really think that I have time to be like trying to solve all of your problems when I have my own like culinary empire that I'm trying to manage? Like, no, I'm not trying to teach you lessons or something like that. It's like they take little digs away at some of the problems of the first one. And, it's just like a frustrating choice because the Chinese fortune cookie concept for the Switch doesn't come from either the book or the previous remake.
That's what I was going to ask. What is that from?
It was very much made up for this version of the film. So it just as easily could have been something else.
What?
Or if they wanted to do it, because I'm not saying that like you can't do it, but they could have put more intentionality into it and they could have done it a little bit more responsibly than the way that it was done. But on a side note, it is nice to see how many people who are involved with its production who are willing to recognize and call out it being problematic and efforts being taken in the sequel film to fix it. They're all very effective and very intentional. So, but that's kind of like a glaring thing. There's a lot of pretty harmful things that have been done with this.
It's referred to as, quote, Asian voodoo, which is so fucking horrible. I mean, even for 2003, what are we doing? And it's like, yes, like you've built it into the story in some way. Maybe there's ways to not be so offensive, but you're having someone say that.
Yeah.
Come on. And it's also like, aside from the stereotypes in the characterization and that's the fact that that's where the magic comes from, with Pei-Pei's mother, it's like, she causes the switch between Anna and Tess simply because she likes to meddle, and that in and of itself is it's a stereotype. That is a huge, very problematic stereotype, and we don't know a single other thing about her.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't even have a first name. Like that you're going to have the catalyst of this magic. She doesn't even have a first name or any motivation or any true motivation for doing this, rather than like,
she just wants to teach a lesson.
Yeah, I like to meddle. I'm a little like, I'm going to give that little mischievous grin.
I mean, in some ways it is kind of giving the Enchantress in Beauty and the Beast, where it's like, I want to teach you a lesson.
My God.
But also like, we don't really like her.
And that's like, for the good of the kingdom, okay? Like this ruler is bad, okay? These are just two women who are trying to survive.
Yeah, they're having a night out with their family, like having
Someone's
dinner.
getting married in a few days. Like you could have just not done that, okay? And beyond that, it's also like, okay, how and why does she have this ability? Where does it come from? What does she have to do in order to make people undergo this transformation? What is she? And so we're assuming that we're giving her these magical abilities because of her ethnicity. Yes. No, absolutely not. There's no specificity to it at all. It's just generic. Yes, well, of course she would have magical abilities. That's fucked. Okay, it's so fucked up.
Yeah, I do want to refer to when I was applauding the specificity of, I'm talking about the spell in particular, not necessarily where it comes from.
Yes, absolutely. If we're not going to have any kind of explanation or backstory, then we need to be operating in some kind of world where there are a few select people who have abilities, but we're in the real world except for this one magical element. So we don't have to harp on it anymore. And then the only other thing for me is in the What the Fortune Says, selfless love will change you back. I think this dips a little bit into character arc and transformation for me. It doesn't quite explain, can you be changed back if one person shows selfless love, or do you both have to? Because I think ultimately what Anna does is selfless. But I think actually it could have gone a little bit further for me in order to be like, okay, we're locked in. She did the selfless thing for her mother. We're good now. So it's just like, I don't know.
I thought it was clear because she's basically saying like, she's saying I'm accepting Ryan. And then she's also saying like, I'm not calling off the wedding. I know it's important to you. I'm going to go through with this. I'm not going to because Tess in Anna's body is like, you need to call off the wedding. And she's like, and if Ryan is the person that I think he is, then he'll understand. But it's like breaking her heart to do that. But like that to me is selfless because she's like, I'm not going to make my daughter go through a wedding to the love of my life when she is still having issues about whether or not she wants him in the family. And then Anna's response being like, yes, I do want him in the family. And I'll go through with this for you. I thought that was pretty selfless.
I just think if the spell was cast on me, I would be like, I'm going to achieve the selfless love. Like, I'm going to try hard to do this as soon as possible because I want to switch back. Because the fortune didn't say that we both had to do it. It's like, you know what I mean? There's a little bit of like, it's nitpicky, but it's
nitpicky.
like, but it's the same thing that you were doing with life size also, okay? But it is like, for me too, if you actually track what the fortune says, okay. So the prize of the journey is reflected in the other person's eyes. I guess that is talking about the switch. When what you see is what you lack, then selfless love will change you back. I don't completely follow the logic of that. When what you see through the other person's eyes, or when what you see, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not following totally. If I got this fortune, I'd be like, this could mean about 20 different things. Sure. I don't know how to solve this because I don't know what you're asking me to do. I got the selfless love part, but I don't know like what I see is what I lack. Because to me, that gives me a little bit more of a story of like, you each have something that you also need to take from each other.
Right. And I do think that they get that. Like when Tess realizes in Anna's body, like the bravery of going up on stage and like that sort of thing. And like that's something that she lacks, that sort of bravery. And then I think Anna recognizes like the thing that she lacks that her mother offers is, I think could be a couple things, but I think mainly you see it in the scene with her brother when she goes to the parent-teacher conference.
I just don't see them. I think they learn it and they appreciate it, but I don't see them taking it and being like, hey, there's a good quality about you that I could take, and they're, and doing that switch as much.
All right, so let's talk about the character arcs because we're already moving in that direction anyway.
Okay. So for what was satisfying for me in Life Size as far as transformation character arcs go is what Eve starts to learn, that not being perfect and good at everything is okay, and that she can make mistakes and still be a role model. That's a good arc for a doll transformation movie that's more aimed at kids. Like we're on the right track of like, what would this type of character need to learn? We'll talk about it in a minute. I don't think it went as far as it could have. But I think the general lesson for her was a good choice. I just wish that she had taken that all the way, but we'll talk about it in a moment. But we were on the right track there. Also, Casey going from pushing people away to like finding her way back to her dad and her friends post Eve. Again, it ties into what I think makes this really interesting and valuable as a story, is just like the grief factor of it all, and like the, her finding her way through grief. And, she still is in tears at the end of the movie too, but it's okay. Like it's, when we see her at the beginning of the movie, she is removed and she's so sad, but she's not crying. And by the end of the movie, she's crying and she's letting it out. And I love that what we did with her wasn't anything of like, oh yeah, like I can see that dolls are awesome now. No, it's just like what she moved through had to do with grief. And I think that's much more sophisticated.
I agree. I said that I think she has like the biggest, most meaningful character journey in the film, because she goes from being afraid of moving on after the loss of something to being able to embrace that moving on is a part of the process. And she gets to experience that after Eve makes the decision to leave. Like Casey wants her to stay, but Eve is making a decision to leave, and Casey has to learn to navigate that. So it's almost kind of like she gets a do-over of the loss of her mother, and now is better equipped to navigate through it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, seeing that, I think that's like top tier for me.
Yeah. One moment that really stood out for me too is when Eve says to Casey, "You really are my special friend," because "you're my special friend" is her little catchphrase. It's such a beautiful moment, and it felt like Eve really learned what that means. She moves away from, like, at the beginning, she's talking about like, Eve can do this, Eve can do that. I've done every job. I know how to do all of these things. To really focusing, rather than on Eve, to focusing on Casey, and therefore fulfilling her true mission, which is to help girls, helping this one specific girl. And so it wasn't such an overt, like, Eve is this totally self-absorbed person. I liked the lighter touch that we took with it, but it still was there, that it was kind of all about Eve, at the beginning. And then it became very much about the people around her. And you see Eve touch everybody in that way, when it becomes much more about like her looking people in the eye and reflecting something back to them that's beautiful about them. I think she gave everybody a beautiful arc because of that. We see, with her giving love and attention to Ellen, and her fixing the horrendous coworker of Ben's who was like sexist and all over women and everything, and just like, I'm going to look at you and I'm going to acknowledge you, and that can heal you.
Reminding Ben what's important, to the point of like, she wrote into his planner that Casey's game was happening, which I'm also just like, bro.
Yeah, we'll talk about him in a minute. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree with those things. And the biggest strength of this, the biggest transformation for me is Casey. And also just like, again, another kudos to Lindsay Lohan. Like how this child acts that and navigates through all of that. It's so specific too, and so brave. Like she's just so willing to go there. And,
yes.
And have it be messy and not pretty.
Agree.
Which is, I think, hard for a kid too.
Okay, well, now that we're talking about Ben, Casey's father, let's talk about him. Okay?
Yeah,
here's what's unsatisfying. And part of this is, again, I think this happens to me in Freaky Friday too, happens to me with both of these movies, is some of this isn't necessarily in the unsatisfying writing of an arc. It's more in that, like, some of these people are just shitty.
It's
just like, So when Ben finally decides to put Casey above his job, it turns out the forces against him were basically just him. When he finally decides to go to the game, his boss doesn't scream at him or threaten to fire him. His coworkers are
high five.
high five. So it was just him not really having his priorities straight.
And he does say, like, it was just, he was like, it was really
sad.
like, it
He
was
was
just too hard.
hard.
It was too hard. But I'm also just like,
Well,
sorry, bro,
but you have
you're
a child.
kind of like a bad dad. Yeah.
You decided to have a kid. It's
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to be the adult.
Sometimes you get to be sad to make your kid happy.
Exactly. And so it's funny you say that because honestly, though this could almost go in the satisfying section because super realistic, because I know a lot of dads who would do this exact thing if they suddenly had to single parent and the parent who passed is the one who was showing up and is the one who was like kind of being that person for their kid. And I would love to see those guys learn their lesson. Sorry, not sorry. So who knows? Maybe it was satisfying after all. But really, like, I was waiting for him to like look his boss in the eye and his boss is like, if you leave now, this is going to happen. I would have loved to see him be like, fuck it. My kid has a game. I don't care anymore. I would have loved that. I think we needed that.
Even his thing is like, listen, you know how hard I've worked. And if this is enough,
Yeah.
if this cost me partner, then that's like on you.
Yeah.
But
and the guy's kind of like, no, I'll still give it to you.
He's like, no, I'll still give you
Fine.
partner. But I'm also just sort of like, he should be like, you know what? Fuck being partner. This is more important. Like that's
exactly.
That's the energy we were looking for. And
Exactly.
it still felt like he was kind of like hedging his bet a little bit.
He was.
Like, hey, I should still be considered for partner, but I'm gonna go.
Yeah. He's kind of annoying. So Drew and he deserve each other. So it's fine.
Kind of.
They're annoying.
I'm like, can Casey be a doll too? Can she be like, listen, I'm going with you?
Yeah. That's what I was going to suggest for Life Size 3. I want Casey to go to Sunnyvale.
Casey be like, I hate everything.
Yeah.
My dad sucked.
Oh, man. Okay, and so I touched on this earlier too, but I would have loved to see when we're talking about kind of the magic of like bringing things back to Sunnyvale and what does that all entail? I have no idea. I have no clue.
No idea.
But I would have loved to see a little bit more of a change in the Eve dolls once Eve returns to Sunnyvale. Yes, they have the updated look. They have the bob.
God,
the bob. I'm kind of okay, let me say one thing.
That feels
when
like
she
that
steps
is
out
what
into that look, when I was a kid, I was like, I've never seen anything more beautiful in my life. This bob, this pink sweater, the belly shirt. Oh my God.
It's literally what Elle Woods is in Legally Blonde. She's like, gave herself a bob with bangs. I'm like, that's literally what they just did. They gave her a bob with bangs.
Also, it's funny because that day, like, she needed to go get the spell. Like, she had a lot to do that day, but she made time for a haircut. And her new catchphrase does reflect her time with Casey because she talks about, your 100-watt smile. I do love that. But I wish what happened was that she had a different catchphrase that was something like, the most important thing is that you try your best. That's something that Casey's mom taught her that then she passed to Eve. Or you're amazing just the way you are. Because that's what Eve learned.
Yeah.
That you don't have to be perfect. So the Eve doll should be teaching girls that.
It really feels like the only change that happened in Eve
is her outfit.
And her hair.
And that's why girls like her, because she finally looks modern.
And I'm like, that is so not the story that we told.
Anyway, that's the thing. That's the one disappointing thing for me here is like, even though, yes, there are gaps here for me when it comes to like, what is the consciousness of the doll and the magic? It doesn't change my enjoyment. This does because it feels like we didn't quite stick the landing.
Yeah.
Because I want to see Eve teach girls, help girls, the thing that she keeps saying she is desperate to do, by telling them that just as they are enough. Like, that's the whole thing. Oh, so sad.
It really is.
I also think we could have, and again, maybe I'm being influenced by the Barbie movie, we could have gone a bit deeper with Eve's experience with emotions. A lot of her journey was learning that she isn't perfect at everything. But her feeling what crying is like, she does it's the same thing that happens to Barbie, where she like feels the tears on her face. It felt like a big moment. And then we're racing towards the end of the film, so it didn't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
There was I think it was like too many good ideas.
Yeah, those big moments for Eve's arc felt very, very rushed.
Yeah, too many good ideas for a 90-minute movie, I think.
And I think it's because they were trying to give her like a very complete arc,
yeah.
Casey a very complete arc. Ben a very complete
Yeah.
arc. And I'm like, I think you might have needed to choose 2 out of those 3.
Even Drew, they had to have her come back and be like, we're kind of good now. Like, you know what I mean? It's just I don't care about her.
I
don't care
she
about her.
infuriates me.
I know. Fantastic performance because she gave me the ick. But yeah, and I think a lot of it is because this was the first like doll comes to the real world film, and the writers were completely on track, and like there's so many interesting questions there.
Yeah.
And there's not enough for a family-friendly 90-minute movie. There's not enough time to kind of address them all. So I think maybe then if
she's
we cut
anatomically correct.
Oh my God. Please.
And that man who works in the office.
These men. I mean, all of the men in this movie, get rid of them.
Suck.
I mean, the sexism is like obviously a part of the story, but it does, bother me. But yes, I think if we could have, even though I love the moment when Eve cries and like feels that, I think maybe it would have been cleaner to kind of avoid that and just focus on Eve is going back to Sunnyvale and is going to tell all the dolls there, all the Eves or whoever, and then teach other girls that we are just enough as we are. It would have been really clean. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if the focus is going to be on Ben and Casey, then Eve needs to be sort of like a Mary Poppins figure where it's like,
yes,
there is maybe something that she'll take away, but she is there to catalyze change for these other people. And it's not really about her changing that much. Yeah, no, that's kind of like what I had.
Yeah.
For Freaky Friday, strengths here for the characterization. I just think the characters are so damn clear. And the ways in which both Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan realize and embody these characters is really freaking incredible. Like, Curtis's performance has been likened to that of Tom Hanks in Big, and I couldn't agree more.
Yes, it is.
And Lindsay Lohan's tears will never fail to choke me the F up. There's something so special about her. That scene at the rehearsal dinner where she is Tess canceling it and just watching the tears well up, but like not letting them come out.
It got me too. I got choked up during the rehearsal dinner.
Oh,
it got me. It got me good.
And I forget how embodied they are. I keep forgetting that I'm like, oh, right, you're not the adult.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the magic so much. It's so good. And then I think the depth of how much these characters are changed by one another is really profound. I'll, again, call back to that final speech, moments leading up to it. Like, remembering where these characters started and where they are now is such a 180-degree turn, but it all feels very earned and realistic. Like, I never felt like that switch just like happened really fast. It did feel like we were steadily moving towards it. We started seeing moments of respect for one another happen in private moments, in moments where they were together, like the pink slip performance. But like the fact that the pink slip performance, which so easily could be the climax of the film, is not the climax of the film. The climax of the film is the rehearsal dinner.
The rehearsal, yeah.
And I'm like, that is really, really good. Where it's like, you could look at that and be like, oh, this is the most interesting moment, this concert. Like, they're going to switch back or whatever, like right there in the middle of the concert. And that's a choice that could be made. But to take that and be like, no, there's something more emotional. There's something deeper if we just push it a little bit further. And wow, like the payoff is really, really good with the two of them.
Yeah, it got me. The most satisfying thing for me to see was watching Tess realize how many things were stacked against Anna at school. I don't know why, but I was super into that specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tess's arc was satisfying partially because like she's got a lot of flaws as a parent. For someone who deals with emotions and mental health in her profession, she's very dismissive and belittling of Anna's feelings and needs when she's at a really delicate age. So it makes sense then having to have Tess deal with her shitty teacher and her bully. It's satisfying. But I think, again, part of that is like because of the really rough place that Tess is starting in, which I kind of forgot about, or maybe it's coming back to this movie as more of an adult. I think back in the day, I was just like, yeah, a typical mom. But there are a lot of things she does that like are not okay. Yes, like if Anna was my child and the screaming and the slamming, I mean, it would make me crazy. But she really is not. She's got a lot on her plate, but she's not being a great mom.
Oh, when she shuts the power off. Oh,
the power, taking the door off the
door. The door is
it's
criminal.
bad. Like if you told a therapist you did that, they would be like, that's going to make your child feel unsafe with you. So all of this to say, really seeing Tess have to experience what Anna's going through firsthand was super satisfying because I really was starting to feel like Anna. I'm like, wow, you really don't get it.
Yeah.
You don't get it.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I like that Anna has things to learn too of like what the responsibility is of like being someone who people are going to for guidance. Like watching her interact with all of those patients in the office where I'm just like, yeah, she's feeling those feelings, but then also like what Tessa's kind of role is as a parent means people are looking to you, are constantly looking at you, looking to you at the rehearsal dinner, on the TV show, at the psychiatrist's office, like in therapy. And I think realizing like how many people are looking at her mom, I think like that's a perspective that she didn't get before. But I like that she sort of
The
gets.
TV show was so stressful. Please.
So stressful. Oh my
Please.
God.
Oh my
That's a
God.
nightmare for me. Weaknesses. So, okay. I don't really have a complaint for the characters or the transformation arc. I'm really satisfied. I thought they were all executed very well. I feel like, Caroline, you probably have something that you're going to say. The arc with Jake may, I think, be the only thing I have questions on, where I'm like, why is he at the wedding at the end? And then the reset with Anna is helpful. But I'm also just like, how is he rationalizing away what just happened?
Yeah. I also just like, I understand it's for comedic value and it's a part of the whole deal, but I didn't need him on the date with an older lady. I just didn't need it.
I know, but the chemistry was fire. It was really good.
Oh my God. Chad Michael Murray, baby.
If I was Chad Michael Murray, I'm like, that would have been like a bucket list moment where I'm like, I get to go on a date and flirt with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
When she is smiling, when she is riding on the back of the motorcycle with him, and she's just like,
that
is so funny.
That is comedy gold. That and then
so
Mark
funny.
Harmon being right there.
Man.
Perfect.
My God.
Go ahead, hit me with your big weakness.
No, it's not big. I think probably what I have here might have to do more with me. Okay. And like, I don't know, my personal thing. I get it, of course, that in order to have conflict, we need to have these two kind of not want to help each other out at first as they inhabit each other's lives because they're so pissed off about this and they're in such a difficult place with each other that they're like, yeah, I don't want to help you out. But Anna's specific unwillingness to play the part of Tess got very grating to me at times. And it kind of made me pissed off at her. And I understand that she can't get to a place of being selfless too soon. We got to go on the journey. But to me, it didn't feel like as much of a journey as like, I'm going to cooperate with this as little as possible until the very last instant, which maybe is good for dramatic value, but I wish along the way she had these small moments of like, you know, when she's seeing those patients of being like, oh shit, that was really hard. But instead she's like, I'm going to keep making my mom look like a fool. And I'm kind of like, stop that. That's not, I don't know. I needed to say, I understand that it's difficult, but I wanted little moments of her being like, oh, this is hard to be her. But anyway, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that's valid. And I think we see moments of that like in the parent-teacher conference where she sort of softens.
But that has to do more with her brother than her mom.
Yes,
you know?
that's true. But then I think also we see those moments when she's like on the date and she's interacting with Chad Michael Murray where she's like, I have to check myself. I have to remember that I'm my mom and my mom wouldn't do this. Like, those are small things.
Yeah.
But I agree. I agree that there could be a couple more moments where like Anna as Tess is like, I've got to do something.
Because I think Tess as Anna has those moments.
Yes.
Where
very
she's
much
like
so.
to the teacher, she's like, why are you doing this to me? Like, you know? Mm-hmm. And I guess that's what it is for me is Anna and Tess's existence, I feel like a lot of her growth happens as it relates to other people, not Tess. Like she sees her brother in a new light, and then she sees Ryan in a new light. I feel like the biggest growth here is that she ended up learning way more about the good intentions of Ryan, about how he's
Mhm.
like, all this time I've been trying to let her come to me. And he sees how he sticks up for her in moments that she never even noticed. And it's still a great thing to see in a new light. But I kind of expected it to be more of like Anna saying like, wow, my mom is really balancing and holding together so many things in her life. And maybe that's why she is the way she is. But it was
Yeah.
more about other people. So it took a little bit of the focus off of the main relationship for me.
I completely understand that. And then I think I would also say like you could take it as a read of like all of the things that Tess was telling Anna were true, that like Ryan loves her and respects her and things like that, and that her brother loves her, and like that Anna was just so resistant to those things being true and wasn't trusting what her mother was seeing, that like no, these are ways, like you could do a read of that.
Yeah, no, and I think she
But
was. I think that definitely is true, but it doesn't touch quite enough for me on the selfless love part of it,
it's
It's
not
more of
the
like,
like,
I wasn't lying to
wow,
you.
mom's job is really, really hard.
Yeah, because it's like, she's trying to plan this wedding. I wanted it to, instead of just being like, no, we're not having this fish at this wedding, I kind of wanted her to have this moment of like, oh my God, and people are calling me about the wedding and I have a client and I have to go to I wanted her to, I needed that from her a little bit. Because as much as I come down on Tess, she does have a lot on her plate. And you know what? Maybe it's fine because at the end of the day, I feel like Tess learned more about Anna than Anna did about Tess. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, this film is kind of for the Annas.
For the
so
Annas,
it's so if that's the imbalance, it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Some final thoughts from you. Where are we landing on these two with the magic and the characterization?
I mean, what I'll say about Life Size specifically is that this is one of those movies I wore out as a kid, and I haven't seen it in years, and I was very worried it wouldn't really hold up at all. And I think it did. It did way more than I thought it was going to. There are, problematic, we said it earlier, sexist things happening, though they're also kind of part of the story that are cringe. But the story and the soundtrack and the performances are all really good. And this is truly the Barbie movie before the Barbie movie in a lot of ways. I think concept-wise, that's when I try to I feel like I always do this in our showdowns. Like when we talk about princesses, I'm like, oh, but I want to factor in like this princess wouldn't have existed without this one. Where I'm kind of like, Freaky Friday is based on another movie and a book. Life Size at the time was a completely original idea, so I give credit for that. And in these magical realism-esque films, I'm looking for comfort, like a world that's familiar with occurrences that feel exciting and make us feel like, oh, I wish that could happen to me. And I think both of these films really deliver on that. Both with a really nice amount of laughs for good measure, too.
Mm-hmm.
These are both very funny movies.
And there's a lot that's really connected between the two of them. I think
There's
like
a
one of the
lot.
sort of like
It's kinda
unintentional
weird.
similarity is that so much of the character transformations in both of these are about children and parents, and it's centered around grieving another parent
A lost parent. Yes,
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
which is not true
Yes.
of Freaky Friday, the book, or the previous. That is solely
Yeah.
invented for this version of Freaky Friday, is that
Yeah.
Tess is a single mom.
Yeah, there's a lot of working through of grief in these, which I really love.
I do too.
And
I like it a lot.
I think what it really comes down to here for me, and so I need to think about it for a moment, is I'm getting pulled by what had meaning to me as a kid.
Sure.
And the idea being a kid who was so obsessed with dolls, the magic of a doll coming to life was so attractive for me.
Mm-hmm.
More than I was attracted to the idea of like, if I could switch places with somebody, who would I switch places with?
Yeah.
So I know
understand
that I have a bias when it comes to like what magic am I generally more interested in. But let
Mhm.
me hear what you have to say. I'm marinating.
I understand all of that too, and I'm trying to be aware of my bias towards how much I wore out Freaky Friday. And
I didn't know that about you. That's so interesting.
I honestly like kind of didn't really know it about myself either. Like
Wow.
until like Shannon was like, I can't watch that movie anymore with you. And I'm like, oh, okay.
God.
But see, I think for me, like coming down in terms of the character transformation, the sort of like arcs of the characters, the emotional depth of it all, I think I do come down on the side of Freaky Friday. I think the script and everything, it just is really, really deeply satisfying. I was watching this, I'm like, that is a solid ass script. That is like best version of Freaky Friday by far. And I just gravitate towards those characters more. I find myself like rooting for them to succeed more than I think because we're making Eve such a big character who has an arc, the fact that her arc does not land 100% really bothers me in the way that, and I feel like the landing for Tess and Anna is more of closer to 100% based on that final scene.
Yeah. I feel like I would give like arc, for me, I would give arc to Freaky Friday.
I would too.
And I would actually give the magic part to Life Size. Again, for the originality of the idea, the specificity of the magic-y stuff of all of it, but also then the lack of really offensive shit happening.
I know, that's the thing, because I'm also just like, I thought they were being really creative with the way, and with just how effective the performances are in selling the magic in Freaky Friday. I'm like, there's so much about it that I like. I like how grounded it all is, and the lack of CGI of it all. I think it's just like, it all feels very real. And if we're going for magical realism, making magic feel like it's a part of real life, that feels very right to me. But how do you with that?
I know. Especially because I really was like, oh, this must come from, I know the book is old. It's got to come from some outdated bullshit from
I was like, where is this coming from?
Why did you all have to do that? Come on.
I don't know. So I think I can come down in agreement with you. I think I do have to keep reminding myself, it's like the magic of Life Size is a doll comes to life. And that is a big thing.
Yeah.
Like that's a big thing for movies.
Yeah. And just the amount of similarities to Barbie really blew me away.
I was really having a lot of those moments where I was like, oh, damn. Like
it was doing some stuff.
It found some of the precious nuggets that Greta Gerwig mined and then refined into this polished, beautiful thing.
Would a doll in this world cry? And she's never done that before. And what does it feel like? I mean, it's a really interesting question.
And also the fact that the role of a doll is to reflect back the most beautiful things about someone else. And that's complicated.
Yeah. And that they could have existential dread about how much people need that. Yeah.
Yes. And the pressures that they feel about, I'm supposed to be perfect at everything, but I'm not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like that's what's expected of me. And what happens if I'm not perfect at everything?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's a lot of those big questions that are central to these types of stories that come out through Life Size. So I have a lot of respect for the magic there.
And both of these films just end with fantastic songs.
Fantastic songs. I do think Ultimate is better than Be a Star, though. I will.
Oh, no, Be a Star till the end of time.
No, Ultimate all the way. I could do a split on the magic going to Life Size.
I was walking the dog the other day and I was like, this Showdown, I really need to make some choices and stop doing what I do. But I do think in this, we were looking at two very specific things. Like this, like we said at the beginning, this wasn't which film is better. And I think, I just think each of these is stronger in one of the two categories we were looking at.
Yeah, and I just think that I'm sorry, but racial stereotypes, that's gonna deduct 150 points from your overall score in the end.
And it was hard to watch.
It was everywhere. It's
to the point where I'm actually surprised that there wasn't. Oh, they took all of those away. I was going to say that there wasn't a notification at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, they took all of those away.
I hate this timeline.
I know.
Okay, cool. Great.
I know. Welcome to the second Trump administration.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But I think it's kind of like a thing of while I think the magic is really, really good in Freaky Friday, and I think that the character transformation is really, really good in Freaky Friday. Those racial stereotypes deducts a lot of points. And while I think the character transformations are fine for life size, and I think the magic is good, I think good plus fine is greater than excellent plus good plus racism. So I would feel comfortable.
What a math equation.
I would feel comfortable. This is the logic I have to do in my brain in order to say this.
Okay.
Because of how much I do love Freaky Friday.
Yeah.
I would feel okay giving Life Size the win of this showdown for the magical realism and the character transformations. I will give it to that because as much as I think Freaky Friday would win, there's racism.
Yeah.
And I can't with racism, you know?
Yeah.
If it didn't have that, this would blow Life Size out of the water for me. So just know that.
Sure. I will take that and I'll put it in my pocket.
Because I think Freaky Friday is a really, 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 really good film. Just an objectively good film. But great films also have racism in them. And that's unfortunate. It's important that we talk about it. I know we were kind of iffy about how are we going to have this conversation, but I'm I think it's really important that we can say hey, we love Freaky Friday. There's a lot of great things happening in it, but this is not good.
Yeah.
And sometimes will cost you the win of a showdown on Poor Unfortunate Podcast.
And it's very interesting to look at it against a movie that could have been made with a doll that is like Barbie. The typical original Barbie, who is a white blonde woman, and a black woman was given the role, and she is the epitome of beauty and who you want to be like. That pushes it. I mean, again, I know we're not looking at that, but then once we bring racism into it, it's doing really well on that front.
Yeah, that is, as Caroline and Maddie would say, not for nothing. All right, so congratulations to Life Size. You are a winner of this showdown because we're fighting back the Trump administration of it all.
So Life Size wins. Take that, Donald Trump.
Take that, fucking Donald Trump and all of you in the Epstein files. We're giving the win to Life Size.
I'm crying. I can't.
Well, thank you all very much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope it brought you back a little bit in time, or maybe introduce you to some movies that you hadn't seen before. If you liked what you heard or watched, please make sure that you hit follow or subscribe wherever you're getting the podcast. Opt in for notifications on YouTube. And then this is that moment where you want to hit 5 stars, leave a written review or a comment wherever you're listening or watching the podcast. And then tap the share button. Send this to a friend. Send this to someone who was your person who you would watch these types of movies with, or send it to your mom or your dad or someone. I don't know.
Or your doll.
Or send it to your doll. Go dig out the Barbie from the basement of your parents' house and send this to her. She'll wanna listen.
She will. She will. Please also follow us on social media. We are at Poor Unfortunate Podcast everywhere. Instagram, Facebook. No more TikTok for now. Threads, Blue Sky. I think that's everything. We would love to talk to you on there about what you thought about these movies when you were younger. What did these mean to you back in the day? We would love to hear. Or if you're coming to them for the first time, how are they for you without the nostalgia factor that both of us brought to this? I'd be very interested to hear that. So please comment on our posts. You can DM us. But if you want to have even more of a conversation with us and with other people who listen to the podcast, please join the Poor Unfortunate fam. It is still our private Facebook group, but now, as you probably know, it is also our Discord channel. So we will talk about this episode. We've been talking about a lot of other things in there, like, some products that may have come out recently we might all be interested in. There's a big conversation about that in there. So it's a great way for Conor and I to meet who's out there listening, tailor the podcast to what you're interested in, and just make us feel like this is all worthwhile. So please come introduce yourself. We would be absolutely thrilled to have you.
And if you're looking for merch, the Poor Unfortunate shop is open, poorunfortunatepodcast.com/shop. And we will have some updates coming to you soon on our collaboration with Most Magical Printing Company. And if you want to support the podcast and get a little bit more while you're at it, Please consider joining the Poor Unfortunate Patreon. You can get ad-free episodes, bonus episodes, Caroline What's New, which will make the podcast a weekly podcast for you. All plans are under $10, and you can go to patreon.com/Poor Unfortunate Podcast to join. That's patreon.com/Poor Unfortunate Podcast. Okay. That's going to do it for us for this episode. We will be back with some tips and tricks for you.
Woo!
And until then,
Beluga
Beluga Sevruga.
Sevruga.